Hi there. Do you suffer with those pesky, annoying thoughts? You know the ones that just get in your head. It keeps you up at night. It affects your day-to-day goings abouts, and they just won't leave you alone. Those intrusive thoughts, those not just thoughts but feelings too, where you feel deep inside. So if you do, then you're in the right place, because this video will definitely help you. I'm no stranger to it. I get those thoughts on a regular basis, and they can be really heavy, and they can really weigh down on your mind, and affects your emotions, affects you everything, the way you see yourself, the way you feel, the way you sleep. So hopefully together, by working together, we can tackle these negative thoughts and put a stop to them once and for all. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Here are some helpful hints, tips on how to cope and deal with those intrusive thoughts, and to really get rid of them once and for all, and to say, look, that's enough. I've had enough of this. I'm not putting up with this anymore. One thing you need to really remember is that your thoughts and feelings do not control you. Your mindset does not control you. You control your mindset. You control your thoughts and your feelings. You can feel good. You can eliminate those thoughts, and you can take control of them and not let them control you. So here's a few hints and tips on how to do that. So one is shift your focus. When you have one of your negative thoughts or negative feelings, one of those, I'm going to call it intrusive, because I do like the word because they're intrusive, they're intruding thoughts. When you have an intruding thought or feeling, it crops in your mind, notice it straight away and think, look, okay, oops, I'm having one of them intrusive thoughts. Give your thoughts a name. Give those thoughts a name, or those feelings a name. I say they're intruding thoughts, or I'm having one of my intruding thought moments. I'm having one of my intrusive thought moments. You can call it, oh, I'm having a boo-boo moment, or I'm having macaroni cheese moment. Give it a funny name, so you're recognizing it. You think, oh, okay, I'm having that. And then shift your focus. As soon as you have one of them, shift your focus. Maybe you'll be washing the dishes or something, and one of those intrusive thoughts pop into your mind. Stop washing the dishes, go make yourself a coffee, go outside into the garden if you have one, or in the street, have a 2-minute walk up and down the street. Just take your focus away, shift your focus instantly as soon as you have your intrusive thought. And keep practicing this, and that would help you eventually to tackle that thought. Another tip is to acknowledge and release it. It's important to acknowledge when you're actually having these intrusive thoughts and feelings. So you're busy doing something, you suddenly get this intrusive thought, this intrusive feeling. Don't just suddenly think, oh no, I'm having it, I don't like it. Don't get sucked into it and let it overtake your emotions and overanalyze it. You don't want to overanalyze. Just acknowledge it. Think, oh, okay, look, I'm having this intrusive thought. Now I'm just going to release it. I choose to not have this. I'm in control. I choose to not have it. Yes, I acknowledge I'm feeling this way. Right, go. Bye. See you later. I release. I let go. And then again, shift your focus onto something else. So that's another little tip of what you could do. Another one is distraction. So when you get those intrusive thoughts or feelings, try and keep your mind distracted. Go and put on a favorite movie or something. Put some music on and start dancing up and down. Even if you're feeling, because you've just had this intrusive thought or feeling, put music on and just start dancing. Be silly. Act like a silly clown. Jump up and down. Do star jumps. Maybe say, right, every time I have an intrusive thought, I'm going to do 10 star jumps or 20 star jumps. Try and find a distraction. You could even make it a set thing. Whenever you have an intrusive thought or feeling, you say, right, my set thing is, if I'm having an intrusive thought or feeling, I am going to do 10 star jumps or 20 star jumps on the spot. Or in my mind, I'm going to say the word bubblegum, 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 bubblegum. Or, oh, poopsie-paisy, oh, poopsie-paisy. So you find things to distract you. It could be something you do every time as a regular thing, and that'll be your code, your key. You see a negative thought come in, a negative feeling, and you do your set thing that you're going to do each time. You acknowledge it. You shift your focus, you distract yourself, you do your funny thing or whatever it is that you're going to do to distract yourself from it, and then you release. You release, you let it go, and you take control. You take control of those intrusive thoughts instead of them controlling you. Another tip is to just detach from it, to literally detach. And that's similar to the acknowledge and release, where you just say, look, okay, you get this negative thought, you get this negative feeling, it pops into your mind, and you just say, wait a minute, no, I detach and let go. I detach, I'm not acknowledging it. Well, I've acknowledged it, but I know it's there, I know it's happening, but I'm not letting it affect me. Another way of detaching from things is, for example, say you're going through a very stressful time in your life, something happens. Something could happen. It could be that you find out that you lose your job, or it could be something not as big as that. It could be something as simple as you get a bill in the post. We'll do that more simple thing. A bill comes in the post and it's a huge bill, and you think, oh, I can't pay this. What am I going to do? And you start worrying and stressing. The normal thing is that would kickstart your anxiety. It'll kickstart negative thoughts, negative feelings. You get this bill, you're looking at it, and all of a sudden your mind goes into way overdrive. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And you can't shake it. And there's negative thoughts just pile up, and until it becomes like a big, massive mountain. And you start feeling emotional, and that can ruin your whole day, because that can play in your mind. You won't sleep at night. And so instead of letting it get right to your core and really getting at you, instead of really getting wrapped up into it and overthinking it and letting it really affect you and your day and your health and your emotions, just say, right, look, I've got this bill. This is the reality of it. I have this bill. It's got to get paid. I don't know how it's going to get paid, but, I'm just going to stop worrying about it. I'm going to detach from the emotional worry and emotional thoughts of it. Let go of those intrusive thoughts and just think, I'm going to deal with it. I'm just going to breathe, take a deep breath, and then just say, right, what happens, happens. It's here. It'll get sorted one way or the other. I will sort it out. I'm not going to over worry about it. What's the point in over worrying and overthinking and over stressing about it? It's the situation. It's reality. It's what's at hand. It has to get dealt with. So instead of me spending the next 2-3 days stressing over it, really affecting my health and sleep, I'm just going to acknowledge it. Yes, I have this bill. And now I'm going to detach, let go, and just have trust and faith that one way or the other, it's going to get sorted. I'll find a way. I'll sort it out. But I'm not going to get stressed over it. So that's another form of detachment from it. Another tip is to really bring your awareness to your breathing. So many times when we get stressed, when we get anxious, when we have those intrusive thoughts and feelings, we either breathe too quickly, and that can make us feel dizzy, make us feel more stressed, or we hold our breaths. I know I always usually hold my breath, and you look sometimes and think, oh, I can't remember the last time I had a breath. And all of these are unhealthy habits, because you're starving yourself of oxygen or overdoing it and just flooding your lungs with over oxygen, if that makes sense. So really bring your attention to your breathing. When you have these anxious or these intrusive thoughts and feelings, acknowledge it. Think, oh, okay, I'm having one of the moments, and then just stop. Stop whatever you're doing. You could close your eyes or keep your eyes open. It's up to you. And just bring your focus to your breathing. Just breathe in slowly. Just slowly breathe in. We'll do it together. Breathe in slowly. Hold for a few seconds and release slowly. Breathe in slowly. Hold for a few seconds. Release slowly. Just bring your awareness to your breathing. Maybe do 10 of those, 20 of those. Just suddenly bring your focus to your breathing. Another good one is to do meditations and mindfulness. This really helps. So obviously meditations you'll do at a different point, but it can help you to get used to the breathing techniques. You could even take up breathing classes, because you can get quite a few classes out there to help you with breathing techniques that help relieve stress and anxiety. And mindfulness, as well, if you have an intrusive thought or feeling, just suddenly become mindfulness. Look around you, take notice of the sky, take notice of your surroundings, take notice of how the air feels, how you feel. Just bring your awareness to your breathing and just become mindful of everything around you. Just maybe feel, what does your skin feel like? What does my body feel like? What does the room look like? Oh, what is that tree? Let me go and touch that tree. How does that tree feel? So you shift into your breathing and you're shifting your focus to mindfulness. And these can be some helpful things to help. And the final tip, obviously there's a lot more to this exercise afterwards, but this is just the tip section. The final tip is faith and trust. Let's just have faith and trust. When you get those intrusive thoughts and feelings, instead of letting them really overtake you and worry you, just saying, look, I have faith and trust that everything's going to be okay. Everything is happening exactly as it's meant to be. This is happening for a reason. I can't see the reason why this is happening. I can't see a reason why I'm feeling this way. But I'm just going to have trust and faith that I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. It's very similar to that detaching one. When you think, well, this is the situation, especially if you've been in a situation that's triggered, because usually there's a trigger that triggers those negative thoughts and feelings. Just think to yourself, look, I'm just going to have trust and faith. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Release those anxious thoughts, those intrusive thoughts and feelings. Everything is okay. I have faith and trust. So those are some helpful hints and tips. As I mentioned towards the end of that previous section that we've just covered, usually there's a trigger. Not always. But so you can say 9 out of 10 times there's something that triggers that intrusive thought and feeling. It could be stressful situations in your life. It could be something that someone says. It could be a song that plays on the radio. But there's usually a trigger. So in this next section, I'm going to help you to better handle and manage those triggers, to really recognize when you're having a trigger moment and to how to better handle it so that it becomes easier for you to cope and manage with those intrusive thoughts and eventually eliminate them altogether. So here's a hint or a tip on how to handle a difficult or stressful situation. Tip number 1. Tell yourself everything happens for a reason, which is true. Everything does happen for a reason. Everything is fated and destined, or that's what I believe. But everything happens for a reason. And keep telling yourself this. This is little things that you can tell yourself when you have those triggers. You could say, well, everything happens for a reason. It's exactly as it's meant to be. Whatever's happening now, it's exactly what it's meant to be. I don't know why this has happened. I can't understand why it's happened. I don't see it now, but I know it's meant to have happened. For some reason, it's happening. It's a blessing in disguise. It's either here to teach me something. It's here to help me. Maybe it's here to get me on the path where I'm meant to be in my life, even though it may seem disruptive at this time. So just tell yourself, everything happens for a reason. It's exactly as it's meant to be. It's a blessing in disguise. Another tip is you could ask yourself what you are learning from the situation. Excuse the spelling mistake in there. I just realized that on the diagram on your screen. But ask yourself, what are you learning from the situation? So say something happens. You and your friend have a huge fallout. And you're just like, oh, this has happened. I'm upset. It triggers you. You get all angry. You start having those negative, intrusive thoughts and feelings. I'm not good enough. My friend is not my friend anymore because of me. It's all my fault. You know, all those usual intrusive thoughts and feelings. So ask yourself, take a step back, take a deep breath, and then ask yourself, what am I learning from the situation? Why has this happened? What am I learning? And then just look at the situation, because a lot of times you could be learning something. It could be trying to teach you something. It could be trying to get you onto a path that's right for you. Perhaps this friend was never actually healthy for you in the first place. It could be that this was a codependent friendship. It could be that your friend was always never really giving 100% to the friendship. Or it could be that there's a lesson that you need to learn. It may be that you don't take a joke that well. Your friend could have just been joking with you and you took it the wrong way. So this is something that you need to work on, thinking, oh, I need to liven up a bit. I need to not take everything so seriously. So that's just an example. So try and see what you are learning from that situation. And if you can't see anything at the moment, then just have trust and faith that when the time is right, it will become clear and you will understand why what has happened. Another tip is to tell yourself it's happening to get you to where you want to be or where you're meant to be in your life. Sometimes things happen in our lives, like we have tower moments, which I read the tarot cards, and a lot of times if a tarot card comes up in a reading, I know that tower was meant to happen. It's happening for a reason, because whatever was working before is not working anymore. So you need a tower to come to break down that structure, to break down what's not working, so things can be rebuilt and things can be done in the way that is right, that does work, if that makes sense. So it could be that whatever situation has happened or whatever incident has happened, it could have happened because things weren't working the way it was meant to be, or you needed to be on a different path. So it's life is almost stepping in, the universe is stepping in and shaking your world up a bit, making something happen so that you can get to where you're meant to be. Or it could be a complete other reason why, but there's usually a reason why everything happens. So just tell yourself, it's happening to get me to where I'm meant to be. Another tip is to remind yourself that you are resilient. You are resilient enough to handle this. You really can do it. You're stronger than you think. You're stronger than you realize. A saying that I love to say to myself, which I tell myself regularly when I'm going through difficult situations, is God only dishes out what I can handle. He only dishes out to me what I can handle. He won't give me any difficulties in life that I'm not strong enough to handle or cope with. So tell yourself, I am resilient. Remind yourself of just how resilient you are. And that leads on to the next point, which is recall how you handled past situations and overcame them. Because all of us, we're human beings. We've been through stuff in our life. It may be that you've been through similar things in your life, or you've been through difficult situations, some that are even harder than what you're going through right now, or whatever the situation is that you're going through right now. So recall how you handled those past situations and remember that you overcame those. There were times when you in the past where you probably thought, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. This is so difficult. I'm going through such a hard time in my life. But you overcame it. You are where you are now. You dealt with it. You overcame with it. You healed over time. And you can do that again. That's just reminding you of your resilience. Another tip is to change the way you look at situations, the way you react to them, and the way you deal with them. So if you find, like, for example, you're at work and you've got a heavy workload. It's one of those days where the phone won't stop ringing. Your boss is down your neck saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you got to do this. Your colleagues are at your case or whatever it is, and you're feeling overwhelmed and overstressed. It may be that in the past you may have reacted like, I'm not doing this, and you throw the towel in. You could have got angry. You could have gone into the public toilet or into your work toilet and burst into tears and say, I can't do this. You start getting all those negative, intrusive thoughts and feelings. It could be that you spend the rest of your day dreading the rest of your day at work. You hate it, and because you dealt with it, and that's your way of dealing with it and coping with it. It was just like too much to cope with, too much to handle. You walk around feeling heavy, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like everyone hates you, feeling like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders. And it's because you were dealing with it in a certain way. So maybe think, look, I'm going to change the way I look at the situation. So they're looking at the situation, right, I've got this heavy workload at work. Everyone's on my case. I can either go into the toilet and have a good cry and just feel overwhelmed and let it get overwhelming on me, or I can change it. I can change it and react to it differently, deal with it differently. So maybe I can sit down, make a quick list of my priorities, prioritize what's the top thing that I need to do first. then the second, then the third, work through things. I could go over to my colleague and ask my colleague to please help me out because they take off some of my workload, so it's not so much for me to do. I could ask my boss, let my boss know how I'm feeling. So it's just dealing with things differently. Try and see how you can change the way you look at the situation. You could be thinking, yeah, I am busy. I am overwhelmed. It's work. I can do it. I can handle it. I'm resilient. Look at how you can react and deal with it differently. Another example, you could have a teenage child who is always kicking off, and the two of you just keep butting heads, and you just feel like, you can't get anywhere. You're always arguing, there's always upsets, and you always deal with it with a lot of screaming, fighting, shouting, tears, and everyone's angry. You could say, right, this time round, I'm going to deal with it differently. I'm going to look at the situation. Yep, my child and I, we're having one of those moments again. We're having a fight, we're having an argument. How am I going to deal with this differently? So maybe you could try and change your tactics a bit. Maybe you can come up with a new solution. You could talk differently. Instead of shouting and screaming, you can talk in a calm voice. Say, look, I'm going to take a deep breath, and instead of just screaming and shouting, I'm going to talk very calmly. I'm going to set some boundaries. I'm going to stick to those boundaries. So you're just finding different ways of coping with it. Right, the next one is ask yourself, what's the real worst that can happen? Really, what is the real worst that can happen? Sometimes especially when we're having an anxiety moment, those intrusive thoughts and feelings come in, we expect the worst. Everything seems so much worse than what it really is. And we catastrophize everything. We think of the real worst outcome. So just take a deep breath. Stop when you get those intrusive thoughts and feelings. Just stop right there, acknowledge you're getting it, and then just think, what is the real worst thing that could happen? And is the real worst thing that bad really? Is it that bad, or is it something that I can deal with and overcome with? So ask yourself, what's the real worst that can happen? Ask yourself if your perspective on the situation is realistic and valid. Because sometimes, especially if you do struggle with anxiety and intrusive thoughts and feelings, we can get a complete wrong perspective on things. And that's just because our anxiety, that fight or flight mode, it kicks in, and we panic, and it's hard to see things in a clear light. So again, just take a step back, stop whatever you're doing, focus on your breathing, maybe take 10 deep breaths in, hold, and release. Get yourself into a calm place, and then re-look at that situation. Ask yourself, is your perspective on the situation realistic and valid? Just try and look at it from a different perspective. Maybe look at it from a bird's eye point of view. You could say, if this was someone else, whatever the situation, if it was happening to someone else around you, what would you tell that person? What advice would you give that person? How would you see the situation if it was happening to your friend, to a family member, to someone else? So just try and almost look at it from a bird's eye perspective. And another tip is let go, detach, surrender. Don't get so wrapped up in it. Refrain from overthinking and overanalyzing. Say, for example, you're washing the dishes and you accidentally break a cup, and it's your partner's favorite mug. It's his favorite, or his or her favorite mug, and you accidentally break it, and you think, oh no. And all of a sudden, that triggers those anxious thoughts and feelings. You think, oh my God, my partner is going to be so angry. How am I going to tell them? I can never look at them again. What am I going to do? This is their favorite mug. They're going to be so upset. They're going to be so hurt. Instead of having all that, just stop. You've broken that cup. Take a breath. Stop. Whatever you're doing, take a deep breath. Bring your focus to your breathing. Take in 10 deep breaths or so, and just relax. Calm yourself down. As soon as you calm your mind, you'll be able to rationalize your thoughts a lot easier. And then just say to yourself, look, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm not going to over worry about it or over analyze it. It's happened. It's happened. That cup's broken. I can't go and change back the clock of time. It's happened. It's happened. I could think of a solution. I could go out and buy my partner a new cup. That was an old cup. They did have that one for years. I'll get them a nice new one. I'll try and find the same. If not, I'm sure they'll love the next one just as much. I'm not going to over worry about this. I'm not going to over stress. I'm going to apologize to my partner. They know that accidents happen. Accidents happen. This could have happened to anyone. It could have happened to them. So I'm not going to over stress and over worry about it. I'm just going to let go. I'm going to detach. I'm going to surrender and just trust and have faith. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Why get so angry and so upset and start putting myself down because of a simple mistake that could have happened to anyone? So just let go, detach, surrender. Don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink about it. Don't over worry about it. Right, so we looked at ways of how to tackle triggers when a specific situation arises, but it's not always a situation that causes a trigger. Sometimes it could just be that you're watching telly, doing some arts and crafts, cooking dinner, washing the dishes, and all of a sudden you'll get an intrusive thought or feeling crop up out of nowhere, just like bam, like magic. So it doesn't always have to be a situation that triggers you into having those intrusive thoughts and feelings. It could just be random. I know with me, especially because my mum passed recently, and since then I've been having high anxiety and I've been getting a lot of triggers. And it'll be at any point, I could be in the shower, I could be washing dishes and feeling happy, feeling good, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, here comes this trigger, something, whatever it was, and an intrusive thought comes into me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, where did that come from? Where did that come from? I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling good, so why have I suddenly got this real negative, intrusive thought or emotion? Where did that come from? So we really can be triggered by anything. It could be an actual situation, a person, a song, something that could trigger you, or it could just be a thought that pops into your mind, one of those anxious triggers, and you don't know where it comes from. You could be feeling completely happy, completely fine, and it just gets boom. In comes this intrusive thought, and you think, what? Do I really need this now? Where has that come from? It can come in many ways. So here is the pattern, the cycle on how to best tackle those triggers when they do come. The first step number one, is to take note of what triggered you. So if it is a situation, something that somebody says, a song, a certain smell, whatever it is, if something triggers you, take note of what triggered you. Step 2 is acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you've been triggered. Say, oops, okay, here goes. I've been triggered. Here comes that intrusive thought. I acknowledge it. And I acknowledge that it was that particular thing that triggered my intrusive thought. Then step 3 is ask yourself where it stems from. Where does that trigger stem from? For example, it could be that you're in a store, you're doing some shopping, and all of a sudden a song starts playing in the background. And this could be a song that you and your ex used to have. So you associate that song with your ex, and instantly you hear the song and you're triggered. In flood those intrusive, annoying, pesty thoughts and emotions. And it could be that if your ex left you for somebody else or cheated on you, it could be from hearing that song. It could trigger those feelings and those thoughts of rejection. And all of a sudden you feel rejected, you're feeling low confidence, you're feeling sad, and your mind is working 10 to the dozen. So that is where that trigger would have stemmed from. It would have been because it was associated with your ex. It's a song from your ex. It reminds you of your ex-partner. It reminds you of those feelings and emotions of why you broke up or what happened within that relationship. And so you get triggered. It triggers those intrusive thoughts and feelings. So take note of what triggered you. Step 1. Step 2, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you've been triggered and acknowledge what it was that actually triggered you. And step 3, ask yourself where it stems from. For some of you, you may not know where something stems from, where an anxious or negative thought stems from. It could be linked right back to your childhood. It could be something that happened in your childhood. Perhaps you were bullied at school and you've blacked it out of your mind. And without realizing, you're still getting affected and triggered by it today. So that's why it's important to ask yourself where it stems from, and then actually put some time into looking back, look at your life right back to your earlier years, right up to now, to try and figure out why you have in those triggers, why you have in the intrusive thoughts and feelings that you are, and what's actually the cause of it. Where does it stem from? Because once you know where it stems from, that's when you can work on healing that and overcoming that trigger, from healing from the source, healing from where it actually stems from. Which leads us into the next point, which is work through it. Work through it is work through those triggers. If you have a trigger, once you know where it stems from, you can work through it. You can heal it. You can, if it's something to do with your past, you can get counseling for it. If it's to do with your ex, you could think, right, look, I need to finally let go. This is my ex. I seriously need to let that go. I need to work through it. So you can work through it and take those necessary steps that's needed, whether it's getting professional help, whether it's mind over matter, or whatever it is, you can work through it. So once you've done that, you can release it. Once you've worked through it, you've analyzed it, you've worked through it, you've addressed it, then you can release it. Just let go. Say, I choose to not have this trigger anymore. I choose to not have these intrusive thoughts and feelings anymore. I release it. I let it go. I'm in control. It does not control me. I control it, and I let it go. And then shift your focus. Take your focus onto something else. And you can learn to do this quite quickly, or you can take time on each one. So take note of what triggered you. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge what triggered you. Ask where it stems from. Work through it. Release it. Shift your focus onto something else. And if you keep practicing this cycle, this pattern, whenever you have an intrusive thought or feeling, eventually you will take control of it, and you will eventually get rid of those triggers. You'll get rid of those anxiety and anxious and negative thoughts, those intrusive thoughts that really do take over your heart, take over your emotions, and take over your mind and life. You can get on top of it. You can control it. And this is a simple step, There's 6 simple steps there. And if you practice those steps, it takes practice. It really does. It may take you a week, it may take you a month, it may take you 3 months, but keep practicing this cycle, and eventually you would have changed your thought pattern, and you'll be right on top of those triggers. Here are some helpful hints and tips on ways that you can better manage intruding thoughts and feelings. So every time you get one of those intrusive thoughts or feelings, or you're triggered, try and do one of these things, one or more, and hopefully you should notice a positive difference. One is change how you react to it. So you get triggered, change how you react to that trigger or to that situation that you're dealing with. Work on yourself, practice self-love. Meditation, become mindfulness, be creative, get fit and healthy, treat and spoil yourself, go for a walk in nature, take a cold shower. That's a good one to shock yourself out of those intrusive thoughts. Call a friend or socialize. Make sure you get adequate sleep, because this will help reduce those anxious predictions and anxious thoughts and intruding thoughts. Have a good daily routine. Write it down in a journal. So these are ways that you can tell to help when you're having those triggers, but also ways to prevent you getting triggers. It's prevention of the triggers, prevention of those intruding thoughts, as well as coping and managing them when you're having them. Get adequate sleep, have a good daily routine, write it down and journal, get out of the house, distraction, listen to music and sing, read a book, learn something new, let go, release. Talk it out, cry, express emotions. That's another good one. It's good to release, because sometimes we don't want to feel those emotions or express it. And it's healthy. It's healthy to cry. It's healthy to let it out. Scream, shout. Go into the middle of a field if you need to and just scream as loud as you can. Release. That can be a big healer in itself. Try different breathing techniques. Get professional help. Prayer, that's a really good one. Write a gratitude log. Really bring all your focus and your attention to what you do have, the blessings you have in your life, and how grateful you are for it. Practice creative writing. Maybe do some goal setting and manifestation work. look at your life and your home and do life and home improvements, go on a day trip, travel, cook your favorite meals, sing and dance, do something different, read self-help books, watch helpful YouTube videos, practice self-love, cuddle and talk to your pets, listen to uplifting music, ride a bike, or maybe even try walking or riding down different roads and different routes. So these are all ways that you can better manage those intruding thoughts and triggers at the time that they're happening, but also healthy things that you can put into practice to reduce you having those moments, those anxious thoughts and those intruding thoughts and triggers. And so I hope you found that to be helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And please leave comments. Let me know how you found the exercise. And if you do it, what helps you. If you have any hints and tips of your own, please do share. I know I would love to hear them, and I'm sure a lot of others would love to hear them too. So please do comment. And I wish you every bit of success on your healing journey and in tackling those intrusive thoughts and feelings. You can do it. You are strong enough. You are resilient. And you can have a happy, healthy mind with happy, healthy thoughts and feelings. So thanks again and all the best.